Hello, we are here today to talk about what's been going on in the collective. I'm going to wait for people to connect because as a psychic medium, and I'll cover the astrology, there's been a lot of inbox messages, and again with the nodes in May, they are moving into Gemini. A lot of the energy is communication, deeper need for knowledge, deeper need for information, and it can get us overwhelmed. So I am here today so that we can kind of get our energies grounded and get to the place where we can have an open conversation about the transit and about what is coming up and what is in the actual astrology so that we can get ourselves as grounded as possible. How many do we have in the house? Hi everyone, and yes, I am doing a twin flame update, but this felt to be more urgent from a collective energy point of view. I also, do want to do a guided meditation video, but due to copyright, I'm needing to investigate a bit further. But really, you're guided to at the moment. Hi, Hayley. You're guided to, yes, obviously be responsible with looking at the information, but also you must be responsible for self, where you have that tune out time level. And I'm hoping this isn't going to drive me crazy when it does. How are we all? Are we all treated as happy as Larry? I mean, it's going to do it again. I wonder if it's the speaker interfering with it. It may be. I'll move it there. Can we all hear me okay? Now, the aspects in astrology this month are fairly heavy. And as astrologers will tell you, they come to you with the information more from a perspective that you can be aware and to utilise it to the best of your ability, but to be in mindfulness about it. Now, with Mercury moving into Aries, having done so on the 11th, so that'll be for you guys in America today, if you are having movement in your day-to-day, you need to be cautious with vehicles. Because when you look at the energy of Aries, how do I place it? It can be fiery. It can also be, if our mind is not concentrating, we do have a lot of activations of our wounds at the moment because of all the energy of Aries. Now, we currently have Aries and Chiron. And again, Venus is in Gemini. We're also having the sun on the 19th in Taurus. And, some of the aspects that are being made, I will say for weather patterns, I did put something up in the community post because when we have conjunctions occur in particular signs, the dates that are placed in the community tab is for us to be mindful. So it's very interesting because our focus is very much on what's going on collective. But there's also, with all the eclipses that we're having this year, there's also weather and things to that degree that are going to be occurring due to the fact we're having over 6 eclipses this year. So we did have in Perth, Western Australia for the first time, which was on the 11th for us, a record high in temperature. And it is linking into one of the dates, but it had already occurred. So when I did look at it, the 11th is one day in which you will find a spike and a change in temperature. This can be more wind. It can also be more rain, hot, cold. But again, with Aries being connected to it, it can be extremes in temperature. So the dates that you do need to be mindful of for major caution would be the 15th, 16th, 26th and the 4th of May. Now, the 4th of May is probably higher because that is when we're moving nodes. We're also moving into the energy, which again, you'll find anytime eclipses are coming, either side, it's 2 to 4 weeks, you'll get the frequency of the energy. Now, the first eclipse we had was in January. The next eclipse cycle is going to be in July. And the first one is going to be in Sagittarius, which is Jupiter energy. The nodes will be shifting the month before from Cancer, Capricorn into Gemini and Sagittarius. So the first eclipse bouncing off is going to be Sagittarius. And a lot of the lessons that we're going to have over the next 2.5 years will link in with those 2 planets, both Jupiter and Mercury. So technology has been a subject in the collective in 2020. Certain things I have seen have been censored, where there are subjects that you can get copyright claims and you can get in trouble for speaking about them. So at a more open level, I will choose to actually discuss them on a different medium. I'll give you updates via my website. So if you do wish to be part of that conversation, touch base on it and I'll give you a notification. I'll tell you where I'm hosting that. And we can discuss in a little bit different fashion. Obviously, we need to respect the format and, you know, I value the way that I can come to you guys on YouTube. So for those reasons, it will be done elsewhere. But you will find that certain topics are unable to be discussed or they're sensitized. There are also current themes playing out on the internet, which is causing and raising fear-based frequency. So it can be conspiracy theories. It can be, you know, things that potentially could be happening behind the scene. The one aspect, which is our saving grace this month, is because we have conversational pieces happening with Neptune, Pluto, and the Uranian energy, it is disclosure. So you will find that there will be something that is hidden without warning that comes to light. And again, it can also link in with planetary shifts and things to that degree. So it can be at a very natural base, but collectively, because we have all the Capricorn energy, you may find some things are actually disclosed as to what actually is going on. And that will be happening potentially anywhere between now and mid-month. Another energy is if you are tuning into the theories, we already are picking up on the nodes of Gemini. And what you've got to understand with the nodes of Gemini, some of the things, it's communication, but being that this is a number 4 vibration year, very similar to 2017 and 18 when we had retrogrades, you had to be very grounded to achieve tasks. And when you were having ascension symptoms or you were getting fatigued or emotional, you had to really optimize on that time that you had to get things done. This is a very similar year because of the fact that we have it as a number 4 vibration year, which is very team orientated, which can be synchronistic that it's happening at a global level, that although we're activating the wounds, which is Aries and Chiron, at a collective level, we also have to self-navigate because we had the new moon in Aries, which was asking us to acknowledge the wound, acknowledge the fear-based frequency, but operate differently. So your energy is it's your chakra system, it's your auric field, it's you that energizes the people and energies around you, and it's you that is feeding into certain things. So it's also because Gemini energy is overload of information, you will become very distorted in a sense of not knowing, you know, the hay for the clouds. So yes, it's important to actually research, but it's also in this important time in April, it's important to not make major decisions, major assessments, because it's a process we're physically and spiritually going through to gain information, but still stay fluid, so that we can make a correct assessment as we proceed forward, because there are going to be some reveals. So if we're moving in a particular way, let me look at past month's energy. Bear with me. I'm looking at all my astrology to culminate it. Where is it? Yeah. Okay, so we still had the energy in March. Towards the end of the month, the energy was in Aries. Now, when we look at the sun energy, it's what our action is. It's the way we react to things. The moon is, it's more on an internal, whereas the sun is more on an external. So we may be acting, can still have that residue frequency coming through in the collective. So as light workers and people that have been going through ascension, it's important for us to anchor the energy in to help ascend and bring the vibration up. So meditation work, and you'll definitely know when you've landed on a video that is very lower in frequency, because the more you move into your ascension process and your awakening, you are highly susceptible So your vibration will pick up on that frequency right away, and it will have a negative energy to it. You will almost feel like it doesn't sit right with you, or that you're tapping into darker energy, so to speak. The other thing is the realm at the moment is very, very thin. So if you are seeing souls, if you're seeing ghosts and orbs and things to that degree, it's quite normal. It also, you may actually find your third eye is opening up quite a lot. So you do need to be protecting your crown chakra. And a lot of tips I do actually talk about, especially connecting into people that are energy and light workers, people that are very susceptible to frequency, because your empaths, you're actually training yourself to be a psychic medium. So your auric field becomes very vulnerable. When you're doing that, when you're tuning into an energy, it can be what's going on in the collective. Like I've mentioned 100 times before, when you directly are looking at that energy and you're focusing in on it, you're fixated on the frequency. It is very similar to tuning into a human being, tuning into a forward or backward movement. When you're doing that, you do directly need to then tune back out and bring your energy back into your soul. And it's a breathing energy. So you breathe yourself back in, and that of which you tuned into, you breathe out. And you do that gradually to a point you feel you're reintegrated, and then you can get a smudge stick and clear your crown chakra. And what you need to do is you've got to tune out of what you were tuning into and do something different. And that then brings your vibration back into your core field. Otherwise, what does happen is you tend to be very open to demonic attacks and lower frequency vibrations, and it will actually deplete your energy. It will make you extremely tired. And those of you that are psychic know this to be true, that when you are tuning into an individual, and there's even people that, you know, for example, you've seen on TV, where they're working with the police force and things to that degree, they actually have to be very controlled in the way they clear their energy. It's very important to do that so that they're not fatigued. And you do find even mediums will only connect in with a certain pocket of people. And if our energy is not upgraded, we won't accept that client, because it's the exchange of that frequency. So, you know, you guys clearing your energy, focusing on what you can control, being fluid and being open to potentially the information that is there, but you are your nav man and you are in full control of what you fixate on. Raising your vibration is going to be important, but again, you will see a lot of energies at the moment, because if people are transitioning over, the realm is open. And it's also in your dream state, you're going to find you're going to be having darker energies coming in, lighter energies coming in, some of which can be soul tribes that are coming through to give you messages. And it can be morphing at the moment, where it's bouncing, because it's like we're jumping timelines. That's perfectly normal too. There is an update, as I mentioned, that I will be doing for Twin Flames, and that will be after this video. But from a collective level, you will find towards the beginning of the month, moving into the middle, you're going to be looking at what's playing out. I do feel, if anything, because we're going to be in shadow energy by mid-month of Venus going retrograde, it's not the best time to completely start anything new. If you are doing it and you're tying up loose ends, it's because the energy of Pluto is going retrograde. So if there's something you've directly started and you've been guided to take direct action on certain things, and I can give you an example. If you're running a business from home and you're looking at the energy of updating certain things that you're doing, practices, things to that degree, that's normal. That's quite rational. Especially because you'll generally be tapped in ahead of that frequency. Hi, Dale. So when you're sensing something, the more into your ascension you get, like I said, we're all training to be psychic mediums, as energies that are receptive and going through ascension symptoms. You are training your auric field and your energy to be both able to absorb frequency and able to expel frequency. So it's self-navigation and self-mastery. So in doing that, you will generally, when you've been doing that work spiritually, you will tend to tap into the astrology and the energy before it actually occurs. So you will be embodying that energy. And a lot of psychic mediums tend to move through the frequency of what is occurring very prior to the collective actually going through things. So very similar to a twin flame journey. For me personally, I go through a stage of events. I alchemize that energy and I sit and embody that energy, learn the karmic lesson, and then share it directly with you guys. At the moment, a lot of that information at a spiritual level is more coming from a perspective that tools are required, in order to handle certain things, and an explanation, depending on where you are in your journey, about how to handle adverse situations, what signs are, what frequency you move into embodying. So I'll discuss that in the next video. For your energy moving forward, I do feel by mid-month with Pluto going retrograde, there can be something that very quickly does turn upside down, especially with the Uranian energy. Again, it is divinely guided and it's something that needs to occur. It doesn't have to be something terrible, but it will be a surprise nevertheless. You'll also find that a lot of people from the past are going to be coming back into the forefront of your mind, and they're going to be wanting to communicate with you. And a lot of people do ask, during a Venus retrograde, is it a good time to actually deal with an ex or a person? Yes, it is. More so from the perspective of, if you are in awareness similar to Abraham Hicks and your energy, if something at a very natural level needs to be resolved, it is coming back, and it's a bit like when you're doing a audit on your business. You've got to see the good, the bad, and the ugly to decipher the code and understand what you feel is correct by you, and that is both energies fluidly coming to the table to communicate. Now, with all the Aries energy, it's wounds. All my private reads have had the Justice card in reverse, and I do feel it's due to what is happening on the collective, especially at a very karmic level. When we are looking at the nodes in Cancer and Capricorn, we're seeing a global energy of shift of the way things are handled, navigated, governed, and also the shift of, again, the Mercury energy of how we travel in our day-to-day. The saving grace of the situation is the fact that Saturn is in Aquarius. So from a psychological point of view, many of you, if you're falling into fear-based frequency, you may be susceptible to feel that there is too much control. Although the energy of where we're moving into between now and 2021, it is Aquarian navigated, which is collective energy. It's for the people. So it does fall in the people's field, so to speak. So it is beneficial and positive to be seeing that it is a shift that the collective is actually going through, not just control. You will, however, see a lot more energy coming through of Army, Air Force, Navy, police, factory workers, building. And I did really see that when I tuned in at a psychic level, which is unique because when we talk about finances, we tend to look at the area of potentially lack of finances to build. And this can be in countries and in economies. I actually saw the polar opposite. I saw building, not slowing down. So if anything, we needed to build to correct certain things. But there will be changes in industry, so to speak, changes in the way we operate. I'm also seeing between the super full moon in Libra, which you'll have that frequency throughout the month, and then even the new moon in Taurus, it'll kind of plateau and move over to the following month when the nodes shift. The changing of those things that you're liking and disliking is going to evolve. So who you directly are now, by the end of the month, is going to be very different. So it's handy that we're going to be having Pluto going retrograde. And I don't mean lockdown energy. I mean themes that are playing out in your mind about where potentially you have put things on hold. So those energies are what are going to be addressed. Those energies both in February and March, when we had all the Pisces energy and we felt very fatigued, they're playing out, but we more have the Aries energy now that's helping us really look at our wounds and the reality of what this is doing, and where we held value, the Taurus energy, and where we weren't valuing things enough, And we're going to be shifting our lives around to navigate them in the correct manner. Do we have any questions in the house, by the way, while I'm rattling on? Just be very, very careful what you're tuning into. Don't make a complete assessment, because with the Gemini nodes, it's overload of information. And as I mentioned, being it's a 4 vibration, you need to almost be documenting what you need to do in your routine and what you were fixated on achieving. Because with the Mercury energy in Gemini, you can get sidetracked very easy. So you may not actually achieve your targets or your goals because you will get sidetracked. It's a bit like a child in a candy shop. There's this information over here, this information over there. And it's almost like the jack of the trade in all industries, but master of none. So, if you're wanting to master certain areas, you're going to have to be very strict. And that's because we have Jupiter in Capricorn. You need to be strict with the way you're moving yourself forward. So if you have been in a job and you're currently home and you really haven't been liking it, this is an opportunity to really be looking at that. Because if the energy is going to be hard work achieving it when the return occurs, those things are going to change nevertheless. But it could be very different to what you were doing before, but still is at the frequency that you wish to return to. So some people may not be returning to particular industries altogether. Other people will be returning, but it will be very different. Are we still in the house? We're ever so quiet in there. Is the faith still working, or has it jumped on me? How are we all? I'll type something just in case it's bloody blocked it. Here, good. Any questions? Because I will then get on to the next video. I just have 3-month journey on this. I'll be talking about that more so in the next video, which I'll give an update about it. But look, it depends on where you are in your journey. If at a spiritual level you've ascended to the point where you've moved, and there is a part in the journey where they do talk about detachment. And you sort of get very confused by it. You're like, okay, so what do you mean detachment? Does that mean let go? Does that mean move forward? It's really not navigating you any longer to the point you are in complete acceptance, neither here nor there. And it's a very strange place to get to. So it is a portion of the journey whereby you are in detachment due to ascension symptoms. It gets to the point where you're having to really, really dig deep, and you do move into the dark night of the soul. You also do go through a very responsible energy where you're looking at your wounds merely from a point of view of needing to get to be able to cope with the 3D. You also detach from the 5D because you alchemize it and you understand you no longer want a connection in the 5D. So there's a series of events which I do need to make creative content based on to explain and pinpoint where you are in the journey. You will realize that if you are a TF, it can be a year, it can be a week. The more detached of you focusing on that, it moves it quicker. But if you're fixated on it, there's a series of energies we move through, which is enabler, codependent, victim and perpetrator. When we actually can heal those pain body experiences, we're in duality, which the Libran energy was really moving us into that. A lot of us at a collective level are moving into our yin and yang, which is our empath energy and our hunter-gatherer energy, but it's the masculine and the feminine balance. You'll also move away from looking at the videos from the perspective that it's all them or that you're ascended further than they have, because you will actually mirror each other in various ways. And when you do actually write down what you feel they need to achieve, if you then can go back and write down how it directly relates to you, you'll see the mirror and it'll be quite profound. Even if they do have a karmic, you'll find you energetically haven't let go of someone. at a spiritual level. So there's always the mirror there, but you don't subconsciously see it because you feel because you're a freebie, why aren't they? It doesn't match. I don't understand. It can even be spiritual belief systems that you're fixated on of, I don't want them to do X, Y, and Z, and then just that occurs. It's because you're fixated on that energy. So it is similar to being a psychic medium. You're having to really control your energy and your belief systems. Yeah, we will be doing an update on that. There is a lot of shadow work that their energies are doing at the moment, not from a perspective of, and I'll have to tune into each wave, but not from a perspective of, more from a perspective of healing. How do you redirect your energy when you start having romantic feelings, expectations? When I see romance on TV, it makes me want my twin and feel. But do you know what? Whenever you do that, you've got to go back to you. This is what I do because I started shifting the energy of songs, expectations. It's okay to have a need. Okay, it's an expectation is only an expectation when you need them to react a certain way. Having a need to have somebody there, it's natural. So it's not, you're not allowed to have a relationship. Just like people have made you feel like Play-Doh, you have to be a certain way, you also in some shape or form have done such, and that's more the expectation theory. So if potentially you feel they need to do X, Y, and Z, even if they do that, it doesn't change the past. So again, it's making peace with that frequency. Does that make sense? Yeah, well, it's all the Aries energy. So everyone collectively is going through this, and you'll actually see if somebody's projecting at you at the moment, because we have the Aries frequency, it's coming from the wounds. So we will be speaking exactly what we're thinking about ourselves when we're triggered. So if you get someone spewing out a sputum, it's really not about you. So don't own it. If you're absorbing it, it means it does belong to you. But if it doesn't, and you're looking at it like, that's a really strange statement, it's more their frequency coming out and projecting towards you. So it's finding that heart space and trying to have compassion for the person that is actually purging and attempting to understand the frequency that's going through them. You don't have to physically have a karmic at the same time. If you haven't energetically released the karmic, it's inside you. It doesn't have to be a karmic energy. The karmic energy belongs inside us. We directly attract that. So if we believe that they're going to get married to someone, they're going to get married to someone because you have a belief system in you. And why would that trigger you if X, Y, and Z happen? At a natural level, we get it, but it occurs at a very profound way. So what you believe, if it's a trigger, tune out of it. Really, I highly suggest it. Look at it and know that it can't navigate, or you only fit very similar to what's going on in the collective. If you feed it, it will grow. So if you're believing you wish this energy and frequency to shift, you really need to start painting a picture at a third eye level and a very peaceful level that you fully embody and believe this is going to tie up soon. And that's the energy you need to embody. Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that because you're actually then feeding it energy too. Look at it and tune into something else. If it comes up, look at it, hi Michelle, and then tune out of it, especially with what's going on in the collective right now, because the fair-based frequency is really vibrating. You're going to find the Schumann resonance is going to spike and drop. So you coping with your energy ascension symptoms right now will rise and drop, and it'll plateau. More focus on things that you directly need to do, Hayley, not the direct connection. Like very much maybe what comes in for you at an energetic level, but not necessarily, really honing in on the totality of the blocks. What comes up as it comes, deal with it, and then move through it. The quicker you move through it, the better. Yeah, we'll talk about that in the twin flame journey. Okay, I'll love you and leave you. I'll be back in about 10:15 and we'll tune into the collective of TF Path. If you do want me to actually talk to you guys about the astrology, I also am hosting an event on Facebook. It's for Venus Shadow. For your zodiac sign, you can get tickets on the actual website, or you can look at the Facebook page and it explains what it is. So that will be on the 17th. I'm going to be hosting an event on Facebook. So if you want to join, feel free. Okay, guys, see you soon. If I can turn this off, because it always does the same.